This is At Home with ADTS, a show that presents topics of interest to older adults, individuals with disabilities, and their caregivers. At Home highlights the services and programs offered by Aging, Disability, and Transit Services of Rockingham County.
Welcome to this edition of At Home with ADTS, a program about the supports and services offered by Aging, Disability, and Transit Services of Rockingham County. I'm Asheley Cooper, Director of Community Outreach and Development here at ADTS. ADTS has been in operation in Rockingham County since 1973, and our goal is to assist and link senior adults, people with disabilities, and their families with information, opportunities, and services that promote and enhance quality of life, as well as working to meet the local transportation needs of Rockingham County residents. We would like to give a special thank you to our United Way of Rockingham County partner for their longtime and generous support of our Meals on Wheels program. United Way of Rockingham County brings together local people to help raise local dollars to meet local needs. And we thank everyone who's given throughout the years. Before we dive in and meet our guests today, I wanted to share that if you have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or another dementia, you are not alone. There are people who understand what you're going through, and help is available. Being proactive in the early stages can set you and your care partner up for success. Our guest today is Rosalind Pugh-Scott. She is a dementia navigator with Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. Hi, Rosalind.
Hi, Ashley. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much. And thank you for giving of your time to share this information with our residents.
No problem. No problem. No problem at all.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Dementia Alliance.
Wow. It's not a lot. I have been working with caregivers taking care of individuals for about 20 years now. I originally started out in 2009. I was the coordinator for a Project Care, which is the North Carolina only state program that's specific to caregivers taking care of individuals with dementia. And so I was fortunate enough to be one of the ones to start that out in Eastern North Carolina back in 2009. And I did that program up through 2017. And at that point, then my husband and I moved from Eastern North Carolina. We picked up and moved here to Greensboro, North Carolina, where I was a outreach coordinator for the Center for Outreach and Alzheimer's, Aging, and Community Health in connection with North Carolina A&T. And I did that program for a couple of years. And that was based or specific to African Americans that had been diagnosed with dementia. And then from there, I did some other, because the grant for that program exhausted. And so I, tried to keep in the aging community. And I think last year, 2021, I want to make sure, get my numbers right. I joined Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. I had been contracted to them actually back in 2015-16 when I was doing Project Care. And I was contracted in, so I wasn't directly working for them. But now I am a direct employee of a Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. I have a background, or my undergrad degree is in healthcare management, and my master's degree is in human services with an emphasis in gerontology. And I have a strong, overwhelming passion for older adults and caregivers, especially those that are caring for individuals with dementia. So I've been doing this for a little bit. And what I do with Dementia Alliance as a dementia navigator, I coach caregivers through their journey. When they call, we talk through, whatever is going on with them, and I refer them to local resources because Dementia North Carolina, we cover the whole state. And so there's only 5 or 6 of us. And so we can't be everywhere all the time. And so in coaching the caregivers and counseling them and listening to their journey or their story, we try to refer them to local resources such as support groups, such as the agency that you're at, Ashley, transportation, whatever their needs are. As a dementia navigator, we are listening to their stories and listening to their needs and personalizing and customizing those needs based on their story and where they are in their journey.
Wonderful. That's such a phenomenal resource for folks,
Mhm.
because I would think that receiving a dementia diagnosis, being the person who's receiving it or a care partner, has got to be like this one of the scariest, I think, next to cancer, to receive, because there's it's such a variety of the journey is so varied for folks. So I'm just interested, what if someone does receive a diagnosis, what do you think is the first thing that people should do?
And in my opinion, because I work with Dee Dee Harris and she's the other dementia navigator. I would think that the first thing is education. I think it's very important to be educated about this diagnosis, especially for those who are in the beginning. They just got the diagnosis, is new, is new to them. They don't know anything. The first thing is to educate yourself. Know about what is involved and what you could potentially have to deal with down the road. It helps you, kind of make decisions. Care planning, I think, is very important to all of that. So if you know what about the disease and what potentially could be expecting, then you can make better choices and better decisions. And you can do that through, we have events, seminars, workshop. Look for things that are happening at the local level. There are walks. There are so many different resources that caregivers can reach out to and have access to, learning more or understanding more about the diagnosis. And I will say this, and I say this to all caregivers. So well, I heard this and I heard this on the internet and I saw this on the internet and I saw this on the internet. Just be very careful about information that you listen to and you hear. Just do your research and make sure that the platforms that you're listening to are validated, and the information as well as validated that you are receiving. But if you're not sure, like I said, reach out to your local area, aging, your local resource centers, and as well as Dementia Alliance. We most definitely can transition you back to the community if need be. So yeah.
Absolutely. I always tell people, beware of Dr. Google, right?
I Google everything. I do it. I shouldn't, but yeah.
Yes. So education is really important, and I agree. I think that's a vital piece to it. But I also would assume that there's a lot of emotions that come along with it, a lot of processing. Do you find that as you support caregivers that is something that they're facing or the individual is facing, and how do you support them through that?
Wow. We get nothing but emotions. They call crying sometimes. And there's anger, there's anxiety, there's frustration. And I say to them, that's normal. What you're going through is overwhelming, is tiring. I have caregivers that are taking care of 2 or 3 people at one time. They are a sandwich generation. They are they are a younger couple that's taken care of with the mom in the house, but they also have teenagers that are going to school. So the emotions most definitely are surely there. And so I try to reassure them and encourage them that it's okay. Is what you do with it that makes the difference. And so how someone processes that, or the techniques and strategies that they use to overcome that, once again, I think is a personal type of thing, because a lot of that depends on who you are and what you do to relax, or what you did do to relax prior to the diagnosis that you no longer have the time to do. So, some people are, prayer, meditation, exercise, if you can, get out, get away from the situation. I think it's important when you're in those moments of anger or anxiety or frustration, if you can get away from it for a couple of minutes, I think that's very important to you moving forward and being able to process it. What caregivers have a tendency to do, especially if their loved one has frustrated them in a situation, is they're going to try to fix it at the moment in the situation, as opposed to saying, you know what, it's okay. I can step away from it for a minute. I can go away, I can maybe come back, or maybe I won't readdress it at all. But in my walk and stepping away from this, I may go and take a minute and close my eyes and do some mindfulness. And I know you've heard about that. If I'm a praying person, I can go in my closet, my prayer closet, and have a moment. So the processing of those negative feelings is just going to depend on that caregiver and what type of techniques and strategies they feel that are comfortable for them. And I can know that, or I can find that out, or we as navigators can find that out as we listen to them, because they come and they say, this is what's going on with me, and they, tell their story. And you can find out by just listening what type of things that may be comfortable for them to help process some of those negative emotions.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. I think as somebody who's helped people through this journey, I find a lot of times that they're hesitant to share their diagnosis, which I find just isolates them even more. Why is it so important, or do you think it's important for people to share their diagnosis with others?
I do, especially when from a family perspective, because what it does is lets you know a couple of things: who's going to support you, and who is not.
That's an excellent point.
So those are, that's my two. It's important, one, to have, I say to family, have a family meeting. Bring, if possible, it's not always possible, have a conference call, a Zoom meeting, or in-person meeting where as many family members, are there as possible, and say, this is what's going on with mom, dad, husband, wife, whoever, and hear their feedback, hear how they feel, find out if they can support, and if they can, what that's going to look like. Because, one family member may be able to bring a meal. Another family member may be able to help financially. And one family member may say, I cannot. I got too much going on. This is not something that I can do. So
Right.
sharing with family most definitely will, let a person know kind of what that support looks like. But also sharing, from a community perspective, will allow you to access resources like what we offer and what you offer and what other entities in the community offer. So I think it's important to share, what's going on with you, so people can know that you need help and you're not isolated.
Right.
I facilitate a Care Partners book club for caregivers. And we had a new member this morning, so excited. And she was sharing that she felt isolated. Her church is not very supportive. She had just had a major surgery. It's an 8 weeks recovery and she is in her 3rd week. And she's like, her husband, his diagnosis is where once she, breakfast is done and everything, he goes to his computer, he's good. So she doesn't have any interaction. So her sharing that with the rest of the group, we were like, okay, so these are the things that you can do, X, Y, Z, da, 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 and these are the resources that are available. So sharing that, sharing what you're going through, what you're experiencing, will open up the door to resources and support from your community and from family sometimes. So I think it's important that you share that. Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Over the years, I've always said the key to success is sharing. A caregiver cannot do this by themselves.
No.
They will not be able to do it by themselves. It's definitely a marathon and not a sprint.
Correct.
And you can't, even marathon runners, they stop and they get water along the way and they have no bars, or they go to the bathroom, or those sort of things. And you've got to remember that asking for help or looking for support does not mean that you're not doing a fantastic job. It's just realizing that you could do an even better job if you ask for additional support, or you seek out additional support. So,
before we move, I wanted to add something else to that about sharing. There is maybe, like I said, I've been doing caregiving with persons with dementia for a while. There used to be like this strong stigma of shame. I know it's still there, but I want to say I think that's not as strong as it was back in 2009. As you do events, and Dementia Alliance and other entities or organizations do events. People are going, oh well, maybe I can say something, I can share. So I just wanted to throw that in there too. I think we are hopefully transitioning out of that concept of being ashamed or I don't want to know my business type of thing, so that you can have access to community support, but family as well.
Sure, absolutely. I also find that caregivers, there comes a point and sometimes caregivers are embarrassed by a behavior that somebody is demonstrating, which
Yeah.
kind of adds to that shame and then adds to the isolation. So, um, you know, for a lot of folks, used to run a support group, and they would get into a pattern of going to the same places to eat because they understood that their loved one may have to get up and move around,
Yeah.
or they may say, "What do you want? What would you like for dinner?" And they would say something that was nonsensical,
Right.
but they would be able to roll with it and things like that. And I would remind them that it's because they know and they understand your loved one, and so the more you share that, that's what you're going to receive back from
Right.
people. So
Very good.
yes. So when should a caregiver reach out to a dementia navigator?
Um, Once again, I think that varies. In my opinion, I would say if you're brand new and you're just getting that diagnosis, most definitely, reach out to us at Dementia Alliance of North Carolina, Dee or myself will most definitely coach you through what your potential next steps, may need to be. And once again, that will depend as we listen to your story, what you tell us. Like I said, one of our goals as dementia navigators are to focus on personalizing how it best fits you based on your journey. Calling us right away, we could talk about things like, or we can bring, to your thought process, like, is this person going to be left alone during the day? What does that look like? Do you have to work? What does that look like? Are you thinking about placement? What does that look like? Are there other family members involved? Are there grandchildren involved? Does this person still drive? Is this person accepting of the diagnosis? And so we can bring thoughts or concepts and that you probably said, oh wow, I didn't think about that. And I had a lady from Congregational Nurses here in the Gifford County area, and she has an uncle. No, yeah, is her brother? No, her niece. I think it's her brother, but he's being cared for by her nephew, and like he keeps wandering. Like her nephew has moved him in, and he's wandering, and he doesn't know what to do, and so hearing a story like that, it's like, okay, here are the steps we feel that may work for you. Here are some suggestions. Here are the resources. And so reaching out to us right away, as soon as you can, as soon as you get that diagnosis, is ideal. But if not, any time during that journey, when you get to that place and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Just reach out to us. We'll be glad to, even from where you are in the middle or even at the end, we'll be glad to kind of coach you through and to, like I said, personalize those support services to you.
Okay. So when a caregiver calls, is there any information they need to have together, or just pick up the phone and dial?
Just pick up the phone and dial, my lady. We do, there's no specific information that they have to have, but we do ask, though. We have like a quick, like little one-page questionnaire: who you are, what's your address, who you're caring for, when were they diagnosed, that kind of thing. Nothing too deep and personal, because we keep data on our caregivers and they do call back. Mm-hmm. So and we have a platform that we put information in. So if Susie called 3 months ago, I can go into our database and go, oh, this is what's going on with her, and go, hey, Susie, what's going on now? This is what was going on last month. And, we seen things seems to be going well. So I'm assuming there is a change that has happened. And in most cases, or all cases, there has been a change that has taken place. And so to kind of, once again, like I said, as dementia navigators, our role or our responsibility is to coach them throughout their entire journey. So they are, they can call us, however many times they need. And even in the case where their loved one may has passed, there's still some grief that is taking place there over that loss. And so continuing to call us even after that, we most definitely can support. and coach them through that as well.
Is there a cost associated with this service?
We are the one thing that is free these days.
I like that.
If you are driving a car, you know it. But yeah, so we are. Yeah, all our services are free. We don't charge for any of our services that we have. We have multiple services that is, we have our music and memory. We have our care assistance program, which I don't know if at Aging Disability Transit Services that you guys have it, but it's like a respite program, and we have some funding. So that's free, of course, because that's grant funded through donations and foundations that support us throughout the state. And of course, we have the Dementia Navigating Program. And so none of our services have there's no cost to it. We most definitely would love for people to call so that we can, once again, guide them and coach them to the local services that are available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Free is always great.
Most definitely.
Most definitely. So something I always like to ask people that I'm interviewing, what is a key piece of advice that you would give caregivers?
Wow. Once again, because my strategy is to listen first, and mind you, that's not something that I had to learn how to do that. I am, by nature, my personality is one of task oriented. So I'm like, boom, 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 boom. My background also, and I didn't share this in the beginning about myself, but I am a veteran. So, in veteran, you're being in the military, so you're task oriented. So I had to, and I still do now, have to practice listening. So in listening, I can determine what would be the best advice or tip for that particular person. Caregiver, another call that I had this morning, and the caregiver had called, her husband had been admitted to a hospital, the emergency room in Wayne County, because he was acting aggressively. And so I could recommend respite, I could recommend support groups, I could recommend counseling and all these other resources that would be available. But I wanted to hear what her situation was first. And that allowed me to, based on what she was telling me, she already had a connection at Duke, and she already had a neurologist there, but he was in the emergency room in Wayne Hospital. And she wanted to get him transferred to Duke. She had talked to his doctor yesterday. She said the doctor informed her all she needed to do was call, and she can call the emergency room or call a hospital and get him transferred. See, most of the times when caregivers call, they have already made that, what that step is or what that next thing is, or they're working towards it and they don't realize it. And so as I listened to her, and I said, okay, so you called us, and she was given our name in the Wayne County Hospital. And so I said, based on what I'm hearing, your next steps would be to call your doctor again today and say, hey, my husband's in the Wayne County Hospital and I want to get him transferred to Duke. Would you make this call? And so to encourage her, you already got it. All you have to do is do X, Y, Z. But I did also recommend, I said, there are support groups. There are virtual support groups. There are in-person support groups. I would find one. I would try to most definitely find one that was close to the Wayne County community. She's surrounded by a couple of different counties. So the advice, or the key advice, for me in counseling or coaching caregivers, is based on what they share with me. But one strong thing that I most definitely encourage, and I say this to all of them, taking care of yourself first is extremely important. Knowing that you need to take care of yourself. My new caregiver that was in our Care Partners book club this morning, she, in the midst of her telling her story, she got upset. She started crying. She started talking about how she moved here from Texas or Tennessee, not sure. What are the T's? What are the T things? How she moved here because her children encouraged her to move here. That, we would, one was like, I'm going to come by, all the time and visit. And that's not happening. That's not happening.
Right.
And so, when loved ones say or promise they're going to support and they can't, for whatever reason that may be, I say to them, okay, that may be a support system that you can't rely on right now. Okay. What you need to focus on is, what can I do to help myself right now? I just had surgery. I've been in the house. I can't get out. My husband, I can't get his attention because, he's focused on what he's doing. What can I do to take care of myself in the midst of all of this? She's taking care of her mom, who's 100 years old, with dementia in a facility, and she's taking care of her aunt that she's driving somewhere back and forth to take care of. So in all of that, where's me? And so I think it's important to encourage caregivers to understand that you need to, like we were talking, you need to stop for a minute and take a breath and say, where can I fit me into this? Not I have to, but I most definitely have to fit me into this. So where can I do that?
Sure.
So taking care of yourself is the one of the key things that I talk about. And as you were saying before, educate yourself about the dementia diagnosis, because as what we're finding and what we're continuing to finding is that Alzheimer's may be the number one dementia, but now we're seeing FTDs, we're seeing Parkinson's with dementia as a secondary, we are seeing vascular dementias, and the names that I can't even pronounce. So there are so many other type of dementia diagnoses. So familiarize yourself, educate yourself about what it is. The other pieces of advice, of course, as you and I have been talking about, and while I'm here, is tap into the resources. Know what your local, regional, state resources are. And doable, I would start with the Division of Aging, if not, or the Area Agency on Aging, senior centers, entities like that will help you lead you to resources that are going to help you. So those three things are I think would be the major key things that we talk about. It may be different from caregiver to caregiver, but the overall, or the umbrella, I guess I should say, is the same. Take care of yourself, know your resources, and educate yourself. Educate yourself, your resources, and So I had said that, and I had talked so much. I was like, what did I say? But I think those things are very important for caregivers. Try not to, and I hate to say the word don't, because it's easy to say don't, but then it's easy to fall into that isolation component.
Sure.
Because you're so focused on, I got to care for this person, I got to get this stuff done. Do you though? Is it you might can leave those dishes and go outside and sit in the hot, sweltering, humidity under the shade, for a little bit. Think about the so what's,
Right.
Yeah. So do I really need, so what? Do I need to do this right now? Oh, probably not. But what can I do to take care of myself? How can I educate myself? And what are the resources that are available to me?
Wonderful. I mean, you're dead on. I've always found that to be like the secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
Caring for somebody. If somebody would like for you to share a little bit more information with their group, be it faith-based or a social club or anything like that, how can they reach out to you?
I would say most definitely, if you're looking for us to come out and do a presentation or workshop, whatever, call our office at 919-832-3732. You can ask for me, Rosalind, Lisa Levine, who is our educator director. Either one of us most definitely will be able to help you from a community outreach perspective. If you are a caregiver that's looking for specific coaching or dementia navigating, that would be Dee Dee or myself, and that's the same number, 919-832-3732. But also, caregivers, if you go to our website, there is like a little thing that will come up. Is our information platform, where you can just go in and type your name and your information and what you're needing and what your issue is, and that will come to our office, and Dee Dee or myself will get that, and we will reach out to you as well. So 2 ways for caregivers. That's of course our website. You can call us, or our information platform on our website. For those who are seeking community speeches or webinars or events that you want us to help support and participate in, I would suggest you call the office directly, and that's that 919, as you see there, 832-3732. As for myself or Lisa Levine.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. You are a fountain of information. I'm so glad we were able to secure you to come share this information today.
Well, I am glad that you guys asked me. I always enjoy sharing the information and just, to help bring awareness and to educate caregivers in the community. We cannot, like you said, caregivers can't do this alone. I don't think this disease is so challenging and so overwhelming, not just to the caregivers, but to the community. Mm-hmm. We here in North Carolina, the division keeps telling us, statistics, we're an aging state. Mm-hmm. And in my personal thing, 3 reasons why. 1, we have individuals that are aging that have never left. We have individuals that when they were young, they left and went to the city, got these nice jobs. Okay. And now they don't want to retire there because it's too expensive. And so they come back home to North Carolina and they retire.
Right.
And then we have that 3rd group. They are coming from cold places. North Dakota, South Dakota, Massachusetts, wherever, and it's warmer here. So we have those 3 dynamics of different populations that are here. And then there's those of us, that are aging as well. And so we're going to have, according to statistics, we're going to have more older adults in the state of North Carolina than we are younger adults. And so to be prepared or to continue to prepare for that and have resources and services in place is extremely very important. And we as a state, we're working on it. We have some gaps. We have some pretty big gaps. And so continuing to advocate for that at the state level is very important. To continue to advocate for that at the local level, at the regional level is very important as well. And so awareness about what's happening and what we're doing and how it's going to impact our state and our country as a whole is very important. So I do enjoy sharing and educating and making sure that I'm spreading the word as much as possible.
I appreciate that. From one gerontologist to another. So we understand.
Yes, yes.
So thank you so much again, Rosalind. That's all the time we have for today. We thank you for watching, and we hope that you found this information beneficial. For more information about services and programs offered through ADTS, you can visit our website at adtsrc.org, or you can always give us a call at our main number, 336-349-2343. We thank you again for joining us today. And remember that ADTS is here to help you and your family to age with dignity and independence in your home and community. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to At Home with ADTS. For over 45 years, Aging, Disability, and Transit Services of Rockingham County has focused on enhancing quality of life for individuals by empowering them to achieve optimum health and well-being, independence, and participation in community. To learn more about community-based services, resources, or how to help, visit adtsrc.org or call 336-349-2343.